You don't have a time problem. You have a self-command problem. You know what needs to be done. You've known for weeks, maybe for months. But every day you delay, you pay a tax. A tax on confidence, a tax on self-respect. Procrastination doesn't just steal time, it steals identity. Because every time you say later, your brain records it as evidence. He doesn't follow through. He can't be trusted. He folds under pressure. And that's why this matters. Not because you want to be productive, but because you want to be strong. Stoicism was built for this exact war, not the war outside you, the war inside you, the war between what you know you should do and what your comfort wants. Today, you're getting a system. 7 Stoic principles to kill procrastination. Not motivation, not inspiration. A system. You'll hear the principle, you'll understand it, and you'll get a real-life situation you recognize immediately. The kind that usually makes you fold. Then you'll get the action. Let's begin. Principle 1. Control. Here's the rule. Separate life into what you control and what you don't. You don't control outcomes. You don't control how people react. You don't control whether the work feels easy. But you control one thing: your next action. Procrastination grows when you try to control the uncontrollable. You start thinking about the reaction before you send the message. You start thinking about the judgment before you publish the work. You start thinking about failure before you even start. And your brain does what it always does when it senses danger. It escapes. It opens a new tab. It checks the phone. It reorganizes the desk. It does anything except the thing. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Procrastination is often disguised perfectionism. You tell yourself, I just need to be ready. But what you really mean is, I want to avoid the risk of being exposed. Stoicism rejects that. Your job is not to control results. Your job is to control behavior. So when your mind spirals, you say, I don't control the outcome. I control the effort. Now I move. James Stockdale was a U.S. Navy pilot shot down in the Vietnam War and held as a prisoner of war for years. He survived by focusing on what he could control, his conduct, his next decision. No fantasy timelines, no begging reality to be different, just discipline. That is Stoicism in the wild. Now bring it back to your life. You're not in a prison camp, but you still live inside a mental one every time you delay. Real life situation. You're sitting at your desk. You have an email you need to send. A hard one, a boundary, a negotiation, a resignation. Something that could change your life. Your chest tightens. Your brain starts performing simulations. What if they react badly? What if I'm wrong? What if I lose something? And suddenly you feel not ready. Here's what you do. You stop asking, how will this turn out? And you ask one Stoic question. What is the next controllable action? Not the entire problem. The next move. Write the subject line. Draft the first sentence. Save it. Send it. You don't win the war by imagining victory. You win by executing the next order. Principle 2. Discomfort. Here's the rule. Stop treating discomfort like danger. Procrastination is avoidance. Not avoidance of work. Avoidance of discomfort. Mental strain. Boredom. Uncertainty. Judgment. The fear of not being good. And your brain has learned a simple strategy. When discomfort appears, escape. You've trained it. You trained it every time you just checked something. Every time you opened the phone to soothe the tension. Every time you ran from the moment that would have made you stronger. So the solution isn't more motivation. It's training pain tolerance. Because disciplined men don't have special motivation. They have a different relationship with discomfort. They don't treat it like a threat. They treat it like a signal. This is where I grow. David Goggins is a former Navy SEAL and endurance athlete known for rebuilding his life through ruthless discipline and hard training. Whether you like his style or not, his method is clear. He stopped negotiating with comfort. You don't need his extremes. You need the principle. Discomfort is the entry fee. Real life situation. You decide to work out. You put on the shoes. Then the voice hits you. Skip today. Start tomorrow. You're tired. And here's what most men do. They negotiate. They argue with the voice. They try to convince themselves. That's already a loss. Here's the Stoic move. You don't debate discomfort. You label it. This is resistance. Then you do something small that breaks inertia. 1 set, 10 push-ups, a 5-minute walk, anything that proves you can move while uncomfortable. Because once you move, the mind follows. The goal is not to feel good. The goal is to become the kind of man who can act while feeling bad. Principle 3. Memento Mori. Remember, you will die. Not to make you anxious, to make you urgent. Procrastination survives on one fantasy, that you have time, that you can waste today and still become someone tomorrow, but tomorrow is not promised. And even if you get it, you don't get unlimited tomorrows. This principle is not about fear, it's about precision. It means you stop treating your life like a rehearsal. Steve Jobs was Apple's co-founder, and he said that remembering death helped him stop wasting time living by other people's expectations. Whether you admire him or not, the point is sharp. Mortality forces clarity. Now, here's where most men quietly fail. They hear, "You will die," and they think it means work non-stop. No. Memento Mori means stop wasting your attention on nonsense. Stop delaying what matters. Stop selling your future for cheap comfort. Real life situation. It's night, you're in bed. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. But you've said that before. And here's the truth you don't want to face. Every time you delay, you're not just delaying the task. You're delaying the man you could become. So ask this question, brutally. If I died sooner than I expect, would I be proud of how I spent today? If the answer burns, that's good. That pain is a compass. Use it. Principle 4, duty. Here's the rule. Act on principle, not mood. Most men live like this. If I feel like it, I'll do it. That's not discipline, that's slavery. Stoic men live like this. If it's right, I do it, because feelings are unstable. They change with sleep, stress, and attention. If your discipline depends on emotion, you will never be consistent. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps and later wrote about meaning, responsibility, and choosing your attitude under suffering. His message wasn't, "Be happy." It was, "You still have a responsibility to choose your response." That is duty. Real life situation. You wake up. You didn't sleep well. You feel heavy. Your brain starts building a case. Today doesn't count. Today is recovery. Today is not the day. And maybe you believe it. Here's what you do. You shrink the requirement, but you keep the standard. You say, "I will do the minimum that protects my identity," not the maximum. The minimum. If you're a lifter, maybe that's a short session. If you're building a business, maybe that's one essential task. If you're writing, maybe that's 1 page. Stoic discipline is not emotional, it's contractual. You keep your promise because you are a man who keeps promises. Principle 5. The first rep. Here's the rule. You don't need the whole plan. You only need the first action. Procrastination grows when the task becomes a mountain in your head. I have to finish the whole project. I have to do it perfectly. I have to do it all today. So you start nothing. The Stoic move is smaller and stronger. 1 rep. The first 5 minutes, the first paragraph, the first set, the first call. J.K. Rowling is the author of Harry Potter, and she has spoken about writing in difficult circumstances by working in small, consistent sessions. That's how big outcomes are built, not by perfect conditions, but by repeated starts. Real-life situation. You sit down to work. You feel the weight of everything you haven't done, and your mind says, "This will take forever." So you escape. Here's what you do. You set a timer for 10 minutes, and you make a rule. For 10 minutes, I am a machine. No emotion, no evaluation, just output. After 10 minutes, you can stop. But you must start. Because starting is the skill, and skills can be trained. Principle 6. Remove temptation. Here's the rule. Don't trust willpower. Design your environment. If your phone is beside you, you're not choosing distraction. You're being hunted by it. Procrastination is not just inside you. It's engineered into your surroundings. Your apps are designed to keep you scrolling. Your feeds are designed to keep you reacting. Your attention is being farmed, so you stop pretending this is a fair fight. You build an environment that forces focus. Phone out of the room. Notifications off. One tab open. One written objective visible. Same start ritual every day. High performers use routines and controlled environments because they know willpower gets tired. They don't trust themselves in chaos. They remove the chaos. Real-life situation. You tell yourself you'll work. Then you just check one message. Then it's 15 minutes. Then it's 40. Then you hate yourself. Here's the Stoic move. Remove the trigger before the battle begins. If your enemy lives in your pocket, take it out of the room. Principle 7. Never miss twice. Here's the rule. Consistency is not perfection. It's recovery speed. You will slip. You will miss days. You will have weak moments. The danger is not missing once. The danger is letting one miss become your identity. So you make it law. Never miss twice. Miss today, correct tomorrow. No drama. No guilt spiral. No, I ruined it. Just correction. Because the real win is not intensity, it's reliability. Real life situation. You break your routine for 2 days, and your mind whispers, "It's over." You always fail. Why even try? That voice is not truth. That voice is decay. Here's what you do. You restart immediately, with a smaller target if needed. Not because you're weak, because you're smart. A Stoic doesn't prove strength by suffering unnecessarily. He proves strength by returning to the path fast. Now listen, you have the system, but knowledge doesn't change you. Orders change you. So here's your Stoic oath. Say it once, then prove it. I don't negotiate with weakness. I act on principle. I do the first rep, now. When this ends, don't save it, don't plan it, don't talk about it. Pick one task you've been delaying. Set 10 minutes, remove distraction, and begin. Not because you feel like it, because you decided. Now let me recap what you just learned. Principle 1. Control. Stop obsessing over outcomes. Control your next action. Principle 2. Discomfort. Stop running from pain. Treat resistance like a signal to grow. Principle 3. Memento, Mori. Stop pretending you have unlimited time. Act like your days are numbered, because they are. Principle 4. Duty. Stop negotiating with mood. Act on principle, not feeling. Principle 5. The first rep. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start with one small action. Principle 6. Remove temptation. Stop trusting willpower. Design your environment to force focus. Principle 7. Never miss twice. Stop letting one slip become your identity. Correct immediately. These 7 principles are not motivation. They are a framework. Subscribe if you're ready to stop living in later. and start living in now. Procrastination isn't time management, it's self-betrayal. So prove your philosophy the only way it counts, by doing the work when you don't feel like it. Because a man who can command himself can't be controlled by anything else. Stay forged.